Welcome back. So, I noticed that I made a mistake here. So it's base64.h. And at the end, you need to place this hash and if. I don't know, for some strange reason, CodeBlocks didn't add it by default. Anyway, let's go ahead and create our make_dir directory, because this function, the problem with it is the following. Let's take a look at this. If, for example, our path is dir1, dir2, slash dir3. So that's just some path on the system. But let me just use a simpler example. If I type in C colon, if I just type in C colon slash, and I don't know, let's just go into users, user downloads. So this is not the proper syntax for C++, of course. You would need to put a double backslash here. But anyway, I just want to demonstrate the failure of this function and the shortcomings of this function, which we will rectify with another one. So let's say that this function wants to create a folder a file in downloads. And if for some reason the user, let's say, does not exist, this function will fail because it won't get it won't have the full path and it won't be able to go through it. That is why we need to make a backup function that will actually create all of these paths to our file, and then the file will enable the creation of the file for the function that we just made above. Make1dir, mk1dir. So let's begin. Type in bool mkdir std string path. Yep, that's actually it. Actually, no. Imagine that. Okay, so let's go ahead and create it. So we will have to use the for each loop. Charm %c colon path. So what is happening here? Path will be the C will be taking characters from path, and then we will be examining them down the road. Depending on what we get, we will decide what to do. So if C is equal to backslash. So this basically says if C is equal to backslash. So if we encounter backslash, let me actually just write a path up here. C colon slash, I don't know, users slash test slash downloads. Backslash, sorry, they're not slashes, they're backslashes. What happens here is it checks, okay, so C has taken one character at a time from path, and if one of those characters is a backslash, like this, we would like the following to happen. So let's go ahead and take a look what we would like to happen. So first of all, we shall state that C shall immediately be equal to the null terminator, and that will terminate it, and then we will try to create that directory. So if mk1dir path return false. So look, if this returns as false, then return false. Then restore the original afterwards. After all this is done, then restore the original backslash separator. So C equals backslash. And let's go ahead and terminate this line. And then down below, in the function itself, Okay, let this return true. So once you are done with creating all the subdirectories, please return true and be done with it. Okay, so next up, we will go into a generic function. By the way, if this part has not been extremely clear, or if you have failed to understand something here, it's not technically demanding, it's just conceptually kind of difficult to figure it out. Please use the discussion section. Somebody will be there shortly along to assist you with perhaps additional explanations or something like that. One of the staff members. There's always some sort of paid support in the discussions. I generally pay people to come there and answer pretty much any questions that you might have in regards to the subject at hand to help you out as students. Let's go ahead and type in. This is of course free of any charge or anything like that. Template. The support, that is. So template class T and std string write log. So this will be the actual string that creates the log file itself, and we will name the log file by date, so we know when it is actually created. $sign t. So these generic functions I already explained in the prior chapters, in the prior tutorials. We went into great length as far as they were concerned, so nothing really new here. They accept pretty much any type. That's their missing something here. Right. Seem to be missing something. Right, of course. I'm an idiot. I am pretty stupid, I can tell you that. Semicolon at the end of the function. I'm getting really tired, but this is the last function for today that I'm going to explain. So bear with me here, please. And then we're going to be done with this. Okay. Next, what we need next is our path. So app data Microsoft CLR. And let's go ahead and do that. So std string path equals get our path. This is ours, the path. True. Okay, so that's done. And down below, we shall use something from helper. So helper, : date, time, dt. I don't know, date time. We'll need the current date time to use it in order to name our file so that we know exactly when they were actually created. And down below we shall type in std string name equals dt dot get date time string. And because we cannot use a colon as a separator, we need to use underline as a separator in this particular case. Why? Well, in Windows, colons are reserved in file names. You cannot use it in file names at all, so you need to change that, so we'll use underline instead. Plus. Okay, so dot log. That will be the extension that will be tagged to our files, .log. Sounds pretty logical, so it's fine. And next we need a try-catch block. It attempts to actually open up the file and write into the file, create an output to the file. If it succeeds, great. If it doesn't, well, there's a problem. That's why we have a try-catch block, so that the program wouldn't actually stop functioning if there was a problem, but rather instead just return some sort of an exception. Let's go. So try. Okay, give it a shot. Come on. Try to create a file. std of stream file path plus name. Yep, that's it. If file return, there we go, So if this is false, if this file for some strange reason cannot be opened or used, well, just return an empty string. And if the empty string is returned, there is something wrong. There's a problem. std o string stream s, and now we shall use this to output to string stream. Excellent. So lesser than quote marks. We need to open up a bracket and begin. dt dot get date time string. Mistake. Okay, there we go. Get date time string. Next up, lesser than. Close it and let's move on. Lesser than, and we can actually go into the next line so that we can actually see what we're writing so it doesn't escape the screen. std colon endl, flush the buffer and go into the new line. t lesser than std colon endl colon. That's it. Just a bit of formatting, and I seem to have made an error somewhere. Okay, so there's a bit of an error here. Just need a semicolon, and that's it. And let's go ahead and continue with our try catch block. We have successfully created an output to the file, and now after a stream to the we've successfully created the output to string stream. My apologies. And now we're gonna do a dump to the file. So file lesser than data semicolon, and I skipped a line here, which is kind of stupid of me. So we just need to perform the encryption actually first before we create the output to the file. std colon string data equals base 64 encrypt b64 s.str. Okay, that's done. Semicolon, and now we can output to the file. Anyway, once we are done, we would like to close the file, but let's just use a bit of a precautionary measure. So just to make sure that everything's fine with the file itself. If it's not, return an empty string. You can see that I'm getting tired here. And then if all goes well, just go ahead and type in file.close and close the file. That's all. Oh man, that's all that there is to it. After we have closed the file, we would just like to return name. So that's just the name of the file. And if successful, please return it. Next up, oops, I'm done with the try block. Now I need to just create the catch. Catch is pretty simple. So 1, 2, 3. Return. So if something goes wrong, it's just going to return this, but the program shouldn't crash. Colon. That's it. Pretty much nothing else. And if I forgot to mention, you need the endif at the end, like with any other header that we have created thus far. So anyway, this is our code. I'll take a look at it. Well, I can actually take a look at it now and see if I can include it and actually run it. So io.h, have I included that in main CPP? I have indeed. So Control S, F9. Well, I've left this. Should probably delete that. It's a good idea. Okay, Control S again, F9. In the main, are you kidding me? Are you serious? Wait, let's see. Okay, I seem to have made a rather stupid error and I couldn't find it straight away. I just missed a curly bracket at the end. So that's it. Just add another curly bracket there to close the actual namespace that began here. So let's go ahead and save this. Control S, press F9, and it runs. If you're wondering why you have a window here, well, that's just there. That's just code blocks, nothing else. If you run the exe file, you should be fine. And if you're not, we'll make it fine. Let's put it like that, shall we, to an extent. But anyway, seriously though, if you just run the exe file, it should be fine without a window like this in code blocks. It's generated by default. Bid you farewell, and I hope to see you in the follow-up chapter where we will continue by adding various different sorts of functionality to this keylogger.